Hey Dominic, this is your video on how to operate your lightsaber. I'm going to try to get it all in one go, so forgive me if I mess up somewhere. But basically, this is how you're going to get your lightsaber in this really nice box. There we go. And look at that. Honestly, this is probably one of the prettiest lightsabers I've ever worked on. Comes in a nice presentation box too. So you'll see it has the card here. You can use that to help display your lightsaber. It's really, really well made. Very high quality. I'm gonna be giving you the Allen key that comes with it, because it came with the saber, and you'll need it for the blade retention. I'll give you a battery. I'll give you one that's not all scuffed up. This is just the one I've been using to test the your saber with. There you go. So this is your saber. Nice and shiny. The leather is wrapped as well as I can make it, which is pretty good. The leather strip itself was full of fat parts and skinny parts for some reason. It wasn't just one singular evenly cut strip, so I tried my best to make it as evenly spaced as possible, but you'll see places like this that are a bit fatter, and there's places that are a bit thinner, but I tried my best to space it out. I think it came out really, really well. It's very solid. It's not going to come off at all unless you like purposefully pick at it a whole bunch or something, or stick something under it and pry it out, because the way that the glue is meant to be is it's a very strong hold, not as strong as super glue, but very strong. You can still take it off if you ever want to replace it with a different leather wrap or something like that. So it has separate parts. That's a bit strange. I don't know what this does, but this top section, you can unscrew it right here. There you go. I don't know what that's for because it doesn't go anywhere. So just, if it ever gets loose, no, you can just tighten it at the neck here. Same with this here. You can unscrew the button, or whatever this is, and these two things get loose. No idea what the point of all that is, because when are you ever going to take it out? But that's just something to keep in mind. You put it in, doesn't move at all. I glued this in place because originally the guy glued it in place, but it wasn't stuck in there. You probably watched the video I made of it, but it didn't have the gem in it, so I glued it in place. It's not budging. If you ever do want to pop it out, I'm sure you can just unscrew it and go from the inside and like poke at it or whatever, but it's not just going to accidentally fall out. It's very secure. These button covers came with a sticky back. You'll see the most recent video I made on TikTok. I just unpeeled the back and stuck it on. So that's just how it is. It sticks in place. Doesn't seem like it'll fall out, but I'm sure you could like stick your nail under and pull it off. So I don't recommend doing that. No real need to anyways. You'll see here, there's the blade plug. It's really cool. It's very thick. I'll show it to you later. On the back is where you have your blade retention. So if we go in here and open the bag, I'll just take out the blade plug and show it to you now. There we go. So you just have to loosen it a little bit because there's really no need to tighten it too much. It's just enough to hold it in place. But as you can see, it's a really neat blade plug. It's very solid, very clear, diffuses the light quite well. It looks very nice. I guess I'll show you the lightsaber on with it in, just because it looks pretty neat. There you go. So there's two options on how you open this lightsaber. You can either unscrew the bottom like that, and then all you have to do is tilt it and it'll slide right out, because this is secured really, really well, where there's just enough printed here that it holds it really snugly in place when you put the saber in. So you can just slide it right out, slide it in, screw this in, and it won't wobble anywhere, it won't rattle. It's very snug. So you could do that. Or you can just unscrew this section here. I think that's the easiest for me. It's just unscrewing that. And this is your chassis. It's a very simple design, very well made. It doesn't require any kind of chassis retention, because typically you either have to have a permanently affixed chassis, or you have to have a retention screw here to hold it in place. But as I said before, having all of this in place just pushes it all really snug so it doesn't go anywhere. And it also doesn't turn because of the button things. They get stuck on the sides of this channel. So when you put the chassis in the saber, you just want to line it up. You want to line up the buttons to the buttons up in the actual hilt. You just slide it in and it'll allow it to go in. It literally won't go in any other way because there's no channel for it. So there you go. You don't need to be very careful with it, but I highly recommend it because these buttons might get caught one day, might come off or something, but they're very secure here. So just keep that in mind. Every time I do it though, nothing catches because I made sure I used buttons with very low profile. There you are. So let me show the rest of this. This is probably one of the cleanest installs I've ever done in my life because there's very little excess wires. I cut it to the perfect length, so there's no excess wires like sitting anywhere. As you can see in here, you can barely see any wires. You look on this side, you barely see any wires either. I'm very proud of that. It looks very nice. It does stay in place pretty well by itself. This tape is only because I want to make sure the positive and negative contacts don't touch the metal parts in here. I don't think it really conducts at all, but just to keep it safe, because before when I was messing with it, it looked like it almost touched. So this is Captain tape. It's like electrical tape, very thin, used to help insulate electronics and stuff. So that's what's keeping it in place very securely and prevents any kind of disruptions in the electricity right there. So if you ever needed to replace the tape or something like that, Captain tape. I don't think you'll ever really need to take it off, but just in case, I don't know, you somehow rub it off or something. Because you don't need to pull up the board at all. You just need a right angle micro USB to stick in here, and that's how you upload the config to your upload the config from your computer to the board. And here is your micro SD card that you can just reach inside with some tweezers or just your fingers here and just pull it out. I'm going to be sending you the config file that I use for this. I'm putting it on the SD card. It's actually in there right now. So all you have to do is, once you follow the instructions and guides that I'm going to put in the description of this video, you'll be able to set up the applications that you need to customize the proffie for yourself if you don't know how to do that already. So that config file will be very handy. Other than that, the only thing you need to keep in mind is try not to have the battery in while you plug it into the computer, because I've heard stories where you have the battery in, you plug it into the computer, so that means this thing is receiving power from 2 different points and it can fry the board. So just make sure you take out the battery before you plug it into the computer. The next thing you should keep in mind is when the battery is in place, don't put your fingers on the pins here, because that can connect the positive and negative pins, which will end up frying. It won't fry the board because the power isn't directly connected to the board, as long as it's off. If it's on, then the power can go to the board, which would be bad. But even if you have it off and the battery in, if you put your finger on here, it will connect the positive and negative pins, causing it to spark, smoke, and it'll damage either the circuits in here, or at worst case scenario, if you do have this on and you do that at the same time, you could fry the board. I know this because I fried one of these things while building your lightsaber, actually. I had the battery in, the power off. I didn't realize that if I had my finger on here, because I was pushing this in place, that it would connect the positives and negatives. I don't know, I was an idiot, but it sparked and it smoked, so I replaced it and it works perfectly right now, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Just keep that in mind. Don't do what I did. Everything else about your saber is perfectly fine. So let me show you how it works. The negative goes to this side, and then the positive goes to this side. So negative towards the blade, positive towards the speaker. You put it in, very easy, and then you flick the switch. It's also very loud. You can adjust the volume by holding down the auxiliary button and then just tapping the auxiliary to go down, tapping the power to go up, and I think you either hold power or auxiliary to, put it in place. But I'll send you resources to customize blade stuff, all the blade styles if you ever wanted to, but his website also has a list of his buttons, which is what I use, is his button config, which will tell you all the different combinations and whatever to do what you want, like color change, force abilities, turning things on, etc. So, very basic. Oh my god, that was loud. Anyways, that is the on button at the top, and then auxiliary at the bottom. And if you see here, I did something a little special for you. I know you didn't want to add it, so I just put it in for fun. It won't cost you anything. I just did it because I thought you'd appreciate it. I made this individually addressable, so that means this is wired separate from the blade, so it has its own animations, and I set it up for each blade style and each font to have a different color that spins around. And then of course you can change the color by just pressing the auxiliary and power at the same time. Hold auxiliary, tap power, and it'll change colors. But I did this because I thought you'd like it, and it's really cool. There you go, and you'll see it just disappear. So let me put it in your lightsaber here. There you go. And it's super easy. You just screw it on with the chassis in place. Or again, you could already have this in place and just put that there. Screw on the pommel. And you can screw it all the way. Sometimes though, if you screw it too tight, you can't press the buttons. I haven't found that to be the case recently, but if it is the case where you can't press the buttons after you screwed it in, all you have to do is loosen it a very tiny bit and then re-tighten it again, and that sort of knocks it back in place, because when you screw it in, if there's too much friction, it sort of just moves the chassis. So that right there is a gesture control. So you can turn on your lightsaber by either twisting, twist on, and then, it's hard to trigger sometimes, twist off, and I also have a stab on. There we go. So, as you can see, nothing rattles, except for this that loosened up. Nothing rattles. So it's all very snug and secure. Again, this is your on button, an auxiliary button. And you can see that this gem lights up when you turn it on. For certain blade colors, it doesn't light up very much when you're actually in the blade, because it'll dim. There you go. So with blue and green, I've noticed it doesn't light up that much. Here, let's just watch the blade play because it's super cool. There you go. And if you could see, I have the turbine on it, so you can kind of see it circle a little bit. You can kind of see the light. You'll see it better in person, but it looks really cool. You can cycle through the fonts by pressing the auxiliary button. Green. I have, I don't know, maybe 14 fonts on here, maybe 15, and then different blade styles and colors for each of them. So this one's green. There we go. And as you can see, green also doesn't light it up very much, but when you do the flash effects, or the glassy blocks and then flashing, it does flash, which is really cool. And then if you ever want to go backwards with the font, you just go downwards, point downwards,
Green.
And tap the auxiliary button again, and it goes to the previous font.
Purple.
Purple is a little brighter, so you'll see that the red gem lights up along with it.
Red.
I thought it was super cool, and especially the individually addressed NeoPixels inside make this such a cool lightsaber to have, even without the blade on. There we go. I love how it just transfers from white into whatever color it is, and you can really tell the circling with this color. It's great. And of course with red, it turns on. Smooth swing.
Yellow.
I love this saber, it's so nice. It just looks really cool, and the emitter makes the light from the blade plug even better.
White.
So I hope you really like it. It feels great to hold, and it just looks phenomenal, and it works really well too. I'm very proud of this saber.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
Oops. Sometimes it'll glitch out like that where the sound will mess up. Let me try it again. There we go.
Ah, yes. A Jedi's weapon. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred.
This is a really cool blade font, or saber font. Let me just take out the blade plug and put in the blade for now. There we go. Very easy, you just loosen it up. There you go. Loosen it up. Slide it out. And this is my 36-inch blade that I built myself a while ago. There you go. It'll just slide right in. You can tighten it to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. There we go. It looks really cool. So it's got the localized blaster, flash effects. Then I have the different blade styles. This one has a cooling off feature.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
This will be a good one to demonstrate, but it does have tip drag and tip melt. So let's see if I can trigger it. So you hold the auxiliary button and then you stab horizontally. And then the tip lights up and you can twist it to change the degree of brightness and color. It'll also have tip drag, which is kind of just like a downward angle and then a poke or something. This one's kind of trickier to trigger. I think it's downward. There we go. So you have to have a certain degree of angle and then stab down while holding the auxiliary button, and then you've got tip drag. There's a few other things like force. There's like a force effect where you hold down the auxiliary button and then do like a twist. So you can also cycle through the fonts by having it be on, holding the auxiliary and twisting. And I did add rainbow because it's very fun. So there's a force effect. Very hard to trigger sometimes. Well, you'll figure it out. It has all these capabilities, and of course you can change it in the config file if you want. You can add fonts. All the stuff in my description is going to lead you to how you can set all that up. I think that's pretty much all you need to keep in mind. There's not much about the saber. It's just customizing it will be ideal. If there's any glitches or bugs, which I highly doubt it because there's nothing really complicated going on with this saber, you'd have the config file to upload. Anyways, I think that is probably it. If you have any questions, just don't hesitate to hit me up about it. Oh, I thought of two more things. One, there is a blade font, blade style that shows off the battery level. It won't have any sounds or anything, but it does indicate on the blade how much battery you have in the battery, how much charge. This is going to be really high, and then when it goes down, it'll start changing colors as well to yellow, orange, red. And then when it's down here, you know you're kind of in trouble and you should charge it. And then the second thing is Bluetooth. So you're going to want the ForceSync app, and then it'll ask you what the code is. It's just going to be 6 zeros, so 0000000, and it shouldn't ask you again after that. It's just it'll know the device once you do that. I think that's it now. Anyways, goodbye. Hope you enjoy.